Good afternoon, everyone. We have a bit of a pileup here in the United States Senate. We have the Defense Authorization Bill, which we're still trying to get going. We've got a continuing resolution, a disaster supplemental, Water Resources Development Act, and a Social Security bill, all supposedly going to be processed by the end of the week. And I just want to make one observation about especially National Defense Authorization Act, which, as I've told you before, has been available literally since June when it came out of the Senate Armed Services Committee, and Senator Schumer and the Democrats have stalled, not put it on the floor, not prioritized our national security at a time when we have ships that can't get out to sea, planes that can't fly, and a military readiness problem that seriously needs to be addressed. That is not going to happen next year. I can assure you that national security will be a big priority. President Trump campaigned on national security and making sure that our military is ready to confront the threat matrix that we face around the world today, and he will have the full support of us in the Congress to make sure that those important national security priorities are addressed in the upcoming year. So it's regrettable that this is where we are and that we have this pile up, but it was of the Democrats' own making, and now we're going to have to do our best to try and sort through it and find our way out of it and get into next year, where we're going to be in the majority and we will set the priorities, and they will be very different priorities.
Well, Republicans will restore and reassert America's strength in the world. That means a military that is lethal, that is prepared to fight, that is intimidating. It means border security, and it also means America energy dominance, because border security is national security, and energy dominance and America's strength are tied together. I've just returned from the 80th anniversary commemoration of the Battle of the Bulge. That was the bloodiest war in World War II. Hitler's vicious attack by 200,000 Germans and 1,000 Panzer tanks was a surprise to our allies and to the U.S. troops. My father was one of the 500,000 brave Americans who fought that battle in the bitter cold in the cruel winter of 1944. I've just returned from walking the cemetery in Luxembourg, where over 5,000 American soldiers are buried, along with General Patton. This is a constant reminder that our enemies are unpredictable and unforgiving. And for America to be safe, we must be strong. For the last 4 years, this administration has squandered American strength, and it has surrendered our strategic advantages. And that's why our enemies are on the march. Republicans are on a mission to restore America's strength and standing around the world. It is the only way for our nation to be safe and free.
Well, as much as it pains me to say this, congratulations to the United States Naval Academy on their very, very strong win against the United States Military Academy on Saturday. We witnessed America's game, which I will use the old adage that all of those incredible young men that were on the field, they are the ones that are willing to die for every last one of us that watched the game on Saturday. So again, congratulations to Navy. They did beat Army. And I will be paying Rick Scott later for our bet. But again, you know, we want to make sure that we have the most lethal fighting force on the face of the planet. And we have not seen that effort in the last 4 years under the Biden administration. Our adversaries look at us and they see weakness. Our friends are wondering, where is American leadership? What we have seen in the last 4 years, we have seen the world on fire. We have seen chaos at our southern border. We have seen the killing of American service members. Think back to Tower 22 in Jordan, where 3 Army reservists were killed under this administration. And we have had Chinese spy balloons traversing the United States of America, paving the way for unidentified drones, with no reaction from our federal government. We have a lack of American leadership. But thankfully, this week, we will be passing the National Defense Authorization Act. And through that act, again, we will feed the lethality of America's fighting forces. I have focused on traumatic brain injury with our service members and providing safety measures for them. We are strengthening our southern border, and we continue to build upon President Trump's Abraham Accords. So, as we move forward, a good clue and key for our adversaries is President Trump is coming back into office, and there is no doubt that we will once again lead the world with American leadership.
Hello to everybody, and John Thune said something that feeds into what I wanted to talk about. He said there's a lot of unfinished business, but apparently the Biden administration is trying to finish their spending business before the clock ticks off on January the 20th. One EPA official said on their funding strategy that this is like throwing gold bars off the Titanic, or it's an insurance policy against Trump. Just last Thursday, the EPA awarded $1.6 billion last Thursday to 84 new recipients in their environmental justice, block grant, and community change program. Now, if you recall, I brought to this podium the fact that the EPA was going to grant last summer hundreds of millions of dollars to groups that are what I consider anti-American, anti-law enforcement, pro-Palestinian. On their websites, they're totally very far-left groups. We don't even have an inspector general because the Democrats would not let us did not write into their bill and expect an inspector general to follow the $41 billion that's in the supposed Inflation Reduction Act. And now you see they're just flooding money out the door. Talk about a waste. A waste. And they don't want to leave it there because they don't want us to, A, reprogram, or what we would probably do, claw this money back for programs that are more beneficial, that have more meaning, that actually help a lot of different people across the country. So I've just recently requested that the EPA give us some transparency, give us a matrix as to how much was spent, who got it, what were the matrix that were used to determine those that are going to supposedly create these climate justice programs here in the 11th hour before the president leaves office.
Would you be okay with an HHS?
This is a McConnell tradition right here. I want you to know that.
Would you be okay with an HHS secretary who has linked vaccine use to childhood autism?
Well, I think all of us are committed to making sure that all these nominees get a fair process. And he'll have an opportunity through the course of his meetings to answer those questions and in front of the committee of jurisdiction. And so those things are all going to be part of the confirmation process, and I would expect the nominee to have answers to those questions.
Leader Thune.
Yeah.
Leader Thune.
Yeah.
Thank you. What sort of problems would you anticipate on your side in the next 48, 72 hours in terms of slowing up this CR or any to review the bill? Johnson has not even posted the bill yet.
Right.
I mean, do you expect some people to say, hey, we need to take some time to look at it, we need to take some time on the floor? Does that get us to Saturday?
Once it's posted, they've got their rules over there that they have to comply with, and so I'll leave that to them. But obviously, we want to see the posted text, and I think our members it's going to be hard to gauge a reaction of where senators are going to come down until we actually have seen the text. But, you know, obviously, as I pointed out, this is a big pileup at the end of the year, largely, again, attributable to the lack of Democrat action on anything for the last 6 months. Not a single spending bill, National Defense Authorization Act. And so we're dealing with this mess because the Democrats here in the Senate failed to take up what I think are the most basic responsibilities of our government. That's to fund the military and obviously to spend wisely the taxpayer dollars. So that's why we are where we are. What that looks like remains to be seen until we actually see bill text.
After listening to the discussion at lunch today, do you have a recommendation for your conference about what to do about the Social Security Fairness Act? And what about this proposal by Rand Paul to gradually raise the retirement age to offset the cost of this $200 billion package?
Well, those ideas with respect to that legislation, there was a lot of conversation around today, as you might expect. And I think in the end it's going to come down, individual members are going to make their own decisions about where they want to come down on that. It's a bill that's been put in front of us by the House of Representatives. You know, obviously I'm concerned about the long-term solvency of Social Security, and that's an issue that I think we need to address. How this more immediate issue gets dealt with, we'll have an answer to, I think, hopefully by the end of the day, depending on when we get to vote on the NDAA final passage. That'll be the next vote up, and we'll see where our members come down. But we had a very fulsome conversation about that, and that's about all I can tell you about it.
Senator.
One last, yeah.
Do you think the Trump transition team has done a good enough job meeting with Democrats as part of this process?
I think they've tried. I think there's been an attempt. I know some of the nominees I've met with, I've asked if there's been outreach to Democrats, and there has been. In some cases, that hasn't been responded to by the Democrats. So I think our nominees, to the best of my knowledge, are doing their best to try and, as they reach out to Republicans, particularly on the relevant committees, also try and make contact with Democrats. But I had a conversation with one earlier this morning who hasn't had any success doing that just yet. So hopefully the Democrats will entertain our nominees and give them an opportunity to make their case and hear them out, and hopefully if they are qualified for the jobs, to support them in the end. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, Merry Christmas, everybody. We're not going to see you.